Welcome to Berlin, Germany, and week 3 of the LEC summer split. Only G2 esports and Fnatic remain undefeated, and later tonight the arch rivals face off in our match of the week. First though, there is a fight between two bottom teams as XL Esports and Vitality are both looking for their first win. You can see the players getting into the venue as we speak. Both teams sitting at 0 and 4. And we'll have to see who picks up the first win of the day. Hello, everybody. I'm QuickShot, joined by Ender and VODS. And what a game to cap the day, but we have 4 others before it. Ender.
Oh, yeah. This is going to be a very good day of matches. Every single team competing against the other is even in the standings right now. So it's going to be pretty even all across the board.
It's European League of Legends, my man. This is where we come to get the highest quality form of entertainment, quality analysis, everything you could possibly want. It's here. It's back.
And it is starting right now on Ready Check, because after 2 weeks, the Titans of G2 and Fnatic are 4-0, raising the stakes for that clash tonight. Also, a reminder that both of these teams will be representing Europe at Rift Rivals next weekend. And I mean, like the stakes are really high. Fnatic and G2 have never really been in form at the same time, so it's definitely going to be a good match to watch.
Yeah, they both look super good, of course, going into that Rift Rivals tournament as well. You see Fnatic starting to play and put trust in Nemesis in the mid lane, stepping up, and G2 still look like they're on top form.
And what I'm excited about is if Origin are able to win all of their matches today, it means that Origin, Fnatic, and G2 will have only lost to each other, potentially going into Rift Rivals, which just sets up Europe for success coming into what will be an eventful week.
I cannot wait, I cannot wait, I cannot wait. But let's take a look at the standings right now. You can see a whole bunch of teams sitting at 2 and 2. So today we're finally going to break some of those famous European ties and find out who's better in the middle of the table.
We do.
You must hate today, though.
I know. Tomorrow's going to suck. Today's good, though. But what do you make of the table?
So I'm happy that we'll finally get a little bit more clarity on what's going on in the standings. I feel like it's been very difficult to figure out who exactly sits where. I mean, you guys on Euphoria really struggle with a lot of teams sitting in the middle bracket, and I feel like that today will help answer a lot of our questions that we have, given that we're now entering week 3.
Yeah, because so far, all these middle teams have only really played the Fnatics and G2s of the world and the Excels and the Vitalities.
Yeah.
We haven't had a ton of games of them competing against each other, and that's what today is all about.
Well, I can't wait to see who's going to pick up those wins. We do have some other news. Roster changes. Maxlaw is back in the jungle for Misfits, and Jeskla as well as Mystiques are in for XL. Let's start, Ender. What's your take on the roster swaps, and what are you looking for?
I mean, I think it's really interesting, especially if we look at Excel, right? They were all about the 10-man roster, and we've seen Jeskla and Mystiques play before, just last split, where Jeskla was here the whole time and Mystiques came in towards the end. I think they've seen some struggles with their bottom lane. They're winless so far, so they need to make a change, and I'm happy to see this one.
Meanwhile, for Misfits, I'm quite curious as to what some of the decision-making is behind putting Maxwell in versus Kirei. We saw Kirei have a fantastic week last week, being very dominant in the early game, getting some of his special picks like Kindred.
Yeah.
And to me, it suggests that clearly they want to utilize both junglers and their styles, but I think one of the big reasons is 9-12, new patch, new way of playing the game, and new priorities. Perhaps Maxwell fits what the current meta proposes compared to what Kirei brought last week.
Well, the roster changes definitely kicked up a storm on Reddit as far as comments were concerned, but you mentioned 9-12. As you guys know, we are playing on that patch this week, and Mordekaiser is in fact disabled. So tonight we'll get that first look at the new patch, and here's a breakdown from the LEC esports content producer, Shakarez.
Well, Trevor, week 3 of the LEC will be played on 9.12, and there are plenty of changes that will shift the competitive landscape. It brings several nerfs to some of the most popular champions in pro play, so let's have a look. Aatrox got nerfs targeting his sustain. His passive's cooldown is longer at early levels, and his ultimate no longer increases healing from all sources, and now only affects self-healing. Irelia had nerfs to her stun, with its range being reduced and cooldown going up at all ranks. Yuumi also had a barrage of nerfs. Her passive shield is now weaker, W grants less percentage adaptive force, and she's easier to catch as all immobilizing crowd control interrupts her dash. Her health increase is also in some ways a nerf. Yuumi players have been frequently using Cutdown, a rune that grants extra damage based on how much more health opponents have. With higher base health, Yuumi will do less damage, so her Q spam is not as oppressive. Aatrox, Irelia, and Yuumi have all seen 100% presence for the past 2 weeks in the LEC, and while these nerfs will tone them down a bit, you should expect to see them a lot going forward. Some other nerfs, however, were more impactful. Ryze's 47 rework has less survivability, less hard CC, but more potential damage, especially in the later stages. His shield on Q has been removed, and the W no longer roots the target unless affected by E, which makes his gank assistance for junglers weaker as he can't just look for a flash rune prison for setup. With that said, E now always bounces off the primary target and has extra damage scaling on Q from ranks on his ultimate. Sylas also had changes specifically directed at hurting his presence in pro play. Q damage was nerfed, and now the passive does less damage to minions, which hurts his wave clear and ability to gain priority in lane. The first part of his E no longer grants a shield as it got moved to the second part, so Sylas can no longer use E defensively to reduce poke damage. With these changes, we will likely see much less of Ryze and Sylas on the LEC. This removes two very strong flex picks from draft options, but it also opens up space for other champions to appear more, which is exciting stuff. So to recap, Aatrox, Irelia, and Yuumi got nerfed, but we will still see plenty of them. Ryze and Sylas got hit hard and will become more situational in pro play. Also, look out for Karma showing up, as she was given very impactful buffs. I'll be talking about her more in depth tomorrow. Let's head back to the studio.
Thank you very much, Shakarez. Interesting breakdown on the patch, but we want to talk about one champion in particular that we have seen a lot and will be continued to play throughout the LEC this week, which is Pyke. Now, Medic and I, we've been talking a lot about who the best Pyke player in the LEC, and I think that we've agreed that the best Pyke player is
It has to be
Caps.
Wonder.
Wait. But
Caps?
we agreed that it was Caps.
No, it's Wonder.
Medic. We agreed on this. Look, Caps is definitely the best Pyke player. Not only did he seamlessly transition from mid lane to support, which, by the way, is one of the most difficult roles to swap to, but he did it flawlessly. How many other players can make a claim to that kind of a role swap? This is the guy that makes this team work and is by far the best Pyke player.
Look, VODS, that's all well and good, but you're not seeing the bigger picture. You've got a small brain, you need a big brain. Playing Pyke support is very easy. You know what's difficult?
Easy.
Playing him in a lane that no one expects him, in the top lane.
Okay.
Wonder brought out the top lane Pyke for the first time ever against SKT, no less.
yeah,
His top lane Pyke brought Europe its first international championship in 8 years. It has to be.
Hold up.
The old man's
Did
here
you
now.
legitimately just say that playing Pyke support is easy?
Yes!
Right,
When you're in the
exactly.
top lane, you've got more experience, more gold, more support from your jungler.
Exactly.
You picked an easy answer.
Caps.
Get off your high horse because the best Pyke is Mickey. Look,
what?
he was the first member of
Mickey?
G2 to play and perfect Pyke. He brought his
Looking at
experience, his execution to the rest of G2 esports. The rest of you pretenders can't hold a candle
really?
to Mickey. And look, he's done all of this with a handicap, okay?
Shut up.
No.
You're all wrong. You say G2 this, G2 that. The best Pyke player is on Fnatic, not G2, because Hillsang, he brings a
Really?
new style,
Fnatic
a new
players.
way of playing the game. He's split
Fanboy.
pushing all the time. No one
No,
can pressure the
it's
map
Mickey.
as hard as he does. He roams,
he gets
goes
carried
to
by
side
Reckless.
lanes.
It's
No,
so obviously
don't
Caps.
start with that.
Mickey.
Don't
It's
start
so
with
it's
that.
Wonder.
Guys! What about Perks?
Oh, good one, Dragos. 13th in the list. 13th in the list.
Fnatic and G2 Esports are facing each other undefeated so far. The stage couldn't be set more beautifully and more perfectly for this Week 3 matchup. Last time we saw Fnatic play G2 was in what we dubbed the match of the century, and it delivered.
They get Reckless, they catch him out with the cataclysm. A great flank, G2, the perfect team fight. Oh, Reckless dodged the petrifying gaze for Perks. G2 are looking for the win. Can they pull it off? Oh, the Nexus. No way, no way.
Winning those type of games feels nice, but winning those type of games against G2 feels amazing.
I don't really have anything personal with Fnatic anymore. I feel like all the burden kind of goes away. Whereas they really want to win against us. They want the trophy back and they want the title back.
Fnatic is looking unstoppable so far, but how much does it really mean if they can't manage to beat G2?
They are looking a level above other teams. Granted, they haven't played us yet.
Projectile, that was an invisible Pyke. Trying to break things out. Now Jizuke will be locked down, stunned up. Death from below. Perks gets the kill.
We might see Pyke bot again.
That's fine, we can turn this. Ready? Okay.
He's turning around. Caps going back in.
Oh my word! With the help of Wonder, the solo Rangers.
Oh, the Shine rookie. It's for your highlights, guys. It's for your highlights.
I mean, we definitely feel bad losing to Fnatic. They are the #1 team along with us right now. It would be the first time since we made a team that we were not first in LEC.
There's the Destiny and the gate down the gold card.
There is no escape. There is no surviving. Fnatic, clean sweep Origin.
It's really important for me to actually step it up, have a really good game now against G2 and prove to ourselves and to everyone else that we're actually a really strong team and that we should be feared by everyone.
Zoas tries to turn it back around. Rocks are there, forcing Zoas away. Sonic Wave connects.
There's a lot of stuff on the line, history and narratives, and there's gonna be bloody fighting, and you don't wanna miss that.
We are going for the 18-0 split. That's just another win in the book.
We just went to the World Final, G2 won in Masai, and the rivalry is just getting bigger and bigger, and it's getting way more exciting every time.
It's the world finalists of last year versus the current MSI champions. Fnatic versus G2 Esports is happening here in Berlin, but the entire world is watching.
Fnatic and G2 Esports are the two most successful European League of Legends organizations. They have won 12 out of the 13 possible European domestic titles, and it was G2 Esports that picked up the first ever LEC trophy. Today, their bout continues in our match of the week. And before I get you two to chime in, fans at home, I have a question for you. Who will win today, Fnatic or G2? Spam FNC or G2 in chat, and I'll check in with the votes in a moment or two. And Ender, Fnatic and G2 are in form at the same time, and this should be a classic.
Yeah, it's really crazy to see because, of course, the last time these two teams faced was back in week 9 of the spring split. They both popped off. Fnatic went nuts early game, but G2 clawed back, and it ended up being one of our most exciting games of the entire year. Now they're both coming in. It's a G2 roster with Mickey X instead of Promiscu. They're looking on top of the world, and both teams should give us a hell of a show.
I'm just so excited because I love that line from Shox where she said that it's the world finalists versus the MSI champions.
Yep.
Europe as a region has only been growing over the last 2 years. And as Ender has already said, it feels like both these teams are playing at their absolute limit right now. Fnatic, they are very early game focused. Broxah and Hylissang have been working so well together in order to play around Nemesis, find early game leads, and often snowball off the back of that. Whereas G2, their style often spikes in the mid game.
Exactly. G2 pop off between 15 and 20 minutes. They just throw fights down your throat until you can't breathe anymore. They don't give you time to think, and that just means that during this, because of their tempo, they just win all these fights. So maybe they drop one, but they throw another one right at you, and then you fall apart.
And you can see in some of the stats here, Fnatic higher gold at 15, but like you alluded to, G2's next passage of play is definitely very exciting and threatening to Fnatic. Behind you guys, the vote is currently 51% to G2, 49% to Fnatic. You guys can carry on voting, G2 or FNC. But look, let's talk matchups, right? We've got superstars across the rift. My eyes are going to be on Perks versus Reckless, and it's impossible to say which is the most exciting, but VODS, where are you looking?
I mean, for me, it's all about supports and junglers. I feel like that while these two have been very consistent, Perks has had some amazing carry performances so far this split. Mickey and Hylissang, the debate between who the best support in Europe is constantly challenged by these two fans, by G2 fans and Fnatic fans. And because of how strong they are in playmaking, because of how often they like to roam, I can't help but wait to see who gets their hands on the Pyke, who gets their hands on the Hylissang, who makes the clutch play that can get you the fight that will ultimately win you the game.
And where are you looking?
I think mid lane is actually really exciting. Nemesis has stepped up so much, you know, as the player inside of Caps' shoes on Fnatic. And I think that if you're trying to attack this G2 team, you have to play through the mid lane and break him. It's a tough thing to do because Caps is on another level entirely, but Fnatic have to try.
I have one last question for you, Ender. This is the first time in the history of these two orgs where they both appear to be performing at or maybe near their maximum strength. They've always traded wins when one team was simply better than the other. Is it possible for Fnatic to win today?
It's possible, but it's not likely. I still think G2 come in as the heavy favorites. Fnatic can challenge G2, but ultimately, it's a best of one. If it's a gamble, you're not going to win 100% of these games if you are G2, but there's a chance.
Well, that 1-2 because Fnatic's the only other team to go 18-0, and the players have been very outspoken about it. The fans have voted, and 53% of them have voted in favor of Fnatic, and they will be facing off against a G2. Those two teams are frontrunners for a spot in Athens on the 7th and 8th of September when the LEC finals head to the birthplace of the Olympic Games. Pre-sale tickets are available now at eu.lolesports.com/Athens. We'll see you then, figure out who else joins them potentially. Tonight, we do have 5 very competitive matchups, the final being G2 versus Fnatic. But let's talk a little bit more about the matches leading up to that. Every single team has an equal score to the other. 0-4, and then 2-2s and 4-0. So which matchup are you most excited for, Ender?
Ooh, so I've got my eyes actually on this SK versus Misfits right now, because Misfits, for me, they look good. You know, they've gotten 2 wins, but they were against, I believe, Rogue and Excel.
Yeah.
Right? And their losses have been against the top teams in the league. So I have a really hard time judging both these teams, and I think that this game is going to be super telling as to where they will end up at the end of the split.
Listen, that sounds like a great analytical opinion, but we have Excel versus Vitality as our first game of the day. Both these teams are 0-4, Ender.
Oh my God, someone has to win.
I love watching these kind of games because I'm not going to beat around the bush. Both these teams are pretty awful right now, right? Excel really struggles in terms of their early, mid, and late. And Vitality, no matter what early game leads they get, they end up throwing them away, largely due to individual misplays. And when you have 2 teams collide like that, you just don't know who's going to come out on top. And it's just, I get so excited about it. I can't wait for game 1.
Okay, so I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to ask you who does come out on top, but give me one moment because the fans at home are off to a very great start in the race for Superior Analyst. They're currently tied with Medic and Law, and they're doing very, very well over that 17 correct predictions. Now, all the teams have the same score, so StatSpot today will be predicting the ones that have side selection. Will that help them or hurt them? We'll find out at the end of the day. You guys keep sending us your predictions ahead of every show at LOL Esports on Twitter. And I'm going to take a look. Oh, we got a difference of opinion here. Ender going XL, VODS going Vitality.
Yeah, so we both flipped coins and they landed on opposite sides.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Excel, they're bringing a new bot lane, VODS. They're going to fix all their... They're going to fix some of their problems.
I think... Honestly, it's really difficult to tell. I just have a little bit more faith in Jizuke today, and their solo lane is Kabashad, and that's purely the only reason why I'm going Vitality
Look,
today.
I thought the same exact thing when Vitality played against Rogue. I'm like, okay, both bot lanes are struggling, but surely Vitality have the solo laners to come out on top. I'm like, surely they can do this. And then they just got splat. I think the same thing's going to happen against Excel.
Oh, I can't wait to see it. We are moments away from draft before we get there, though. Ender over here, he continues to shock esports personalities with hard-hitting questions. This time, Shocks got caught between 2 Ivans.
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to find Vetty, but...
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, I guess he's just not here today.
I'm really excited for the interview, so...
Yeah, that'll be good. Hey guys, I'm Ender here for another episode. I'm joined today by Eiffel, like the tower deported. Shocks.
No, if you deported it. Yeah, I know, it's not easy.
Yeah.
It's Belgian, it's like exotic.
Do that again.
Why?
I don't know.
I'm not your puppy dog.
So I know a lot of people know you, but what is something that they maybe don't? For all the fans out there.
Maybe that, I love cats.
Okay.
And dogs.
And dogs.
Yeah. Puppies, kittens, bigger dogs, smaller dogs, really anything, yeah.
Okay, so you just make everyone happy, sure. Guess that's why you're so popular. How does it feel to be always compared, and I mean, people often call you EU Ovally. How does that make you feel?
Actually, really good. I mean, I want to see her on
but
screen.
you're not a
I'm
weeb.
really supportive. Me?
No.
Is that okay?
I mean, I don't think so.
Wait, why is that not okay? I mean, I watched
Next question.
Titan attack thing, I think. And also that one about the guy who wrote names and then people died.
I noticed you aren't doing all the shows anymore. Is that what they mean by Shocks Fired?
I'm actually
Okay,
very
I don't
impressed.
care.
Oh, wait, it's not juicy, so you don't want to hear it?
You're just really not. You're not keeping it alive.
What do you mean?
It's just not interesting.
Well, just like all of your cast the last year in EU.
I mean, I'm, you know, an enjoyable talent to,
Yeah.
to watch.
I actually want to congratulate you. It is, I love it. It's really wonderful. I think you found such a perfect way to embody everything about your casting personality in this, because this is also ripped off from something much, much, much better. And it just completely mirrors what you do in casting.
Look, it's not easy to come into casting when you have those legends like Jad, like Deficio behind you. I mean, well, I was gonna say VODS, but that's all right. You got pretty emotional after G2's victory
May I
at
just
MSI.
may I offer like a bit of critique? Like you just like pose a statement, right? You, oh, you got pretty emotional, and then you like put someone in a corner when you want them to answer. I think just like get to it quickly, like an open question. You know, just ask me, why were you emotional when G2 won MSI? It's just, I've done this a couple of times, so it's.
Can you let
it's an
me?
interview
It's my show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Just
So
open
please
question.
just.
Open question.
So you got pretty emotional. What the hell? You got pretty emotional after G2's victory at MSI. Remember that? Yeah. I never realized you were such a big Team Liquid fan.
I mean, that's just funny. That's just funny. That's actually just funny.
So about international events, what's it like to work at one? I'm just asking for a friend.
Well, it's really, really awesome. Honestly, international events really like elevate you to a new level. You get so much fulfillment. You learn so much. You get to work with other broadcast crews and stuff. Yeah, it really is. I don't think I'd be who I was without them. I mean, look even at, you know, VODS and Medic and how they elevate their game.
Medi?
Yeah, Medi and Vedi. I mean,
That
don't you love
duo?
don't you love their intros and stuff and the whole?
No, they just take everything way too far.
What do you mean?
Like, sure, some funny jokes at the start, but they just keep doing it and doing it, making it bigger and grand. And this just, what's funny about it?
You know what, Anna? Maybe you just don't understand comedy. Huh? You thought about that?
Thanks for ruining my piece,
Wow,
Vegas.
maybe, have you gotten any better at understanding comedy, good sir?
Have you gotten any better at understanding how to make an entrance?
Pass.
That was 5 minutes of just awkward and uncomfortable humor, but I love it, and I love the fact that you just kept ripping on VODS, who very clearly was not in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were two Iverns there or something?
Exactly. I mean, it's the name of the show, right?
Master
So
of
there we go,
disguise.
between two Iverns featuring Ender and Shox. Let's move on to our first game of the day between two teams that are still looking for their very first win. It is XL and Vitality, and there's some big news for XL. Hyonin and Kasing are out, and Jeskla and Mystiques are in. VODS, what's your take on the roster swap?
Well, we already talked a little bit about it earlier on, where it feels that XL clearly want to change. They're currently sitting at 0-4. They've struggled against other teams that you would expect to be on the lower end of the LEC bracket. And it feels like that they just kind of want to bring in some fresh blood, some creativity, something new that can either change the perspective in the roster, maybe open up the champion pools. It's honestly a little unclear to me exactly what Jeskla and Mystiques look to bring, but it will definitely be something different.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because usually I think when we see roster changes like this, it's after really bad performances in the laning phase, you know, an area where it's like glaringly obvious when you're performing poorly. Okay. I don't think that was true of Excel's bottom lane. Their problems came much more later in the game, mid to late game, getting caught out of position, dying in team fights, that sort of thing. So this roster move is to try to mend the mid-game blunders that we were seeing before.
Do you like it? Do you think Jeskla and Mystiques can fix some of the problems you were seeing from XL?
I mean, so ultimately, I don't know. It's really hard to say, but this is a duo that we saw playing actually last split, right? They were both in for, you know, a lot of games, Jeskla in the whole time. And what this team just needs is some kind of change. Mickey was supposed to be the change.
Yeah.
They're still 0-4. Keep making changes. Keep throwing stuff at the wall until it sticks.
Until something works. All right, let's take a little deeper look for more on that bot lane change. Let's hear from XL's coach.
Thank you very much, Trevor. Laure here, and I'm back for week 3. And first guest joining me today is David Lim. Thank you so much for joining me. So we have world semi-finalist from last year and his longtime duo partner being replaced after 2 weeks. Tell me about this move.
So this doesn't have too much to do with us replacing Hjarnan and Kasing. It has more to do with Jessica and Mystiques have been playing really well in scrims, and they've been very confident, and I really like how they're what they've shown so far. So I wanted to give them a chance and see how they do on stage.
I get that, but sometimes I feel like switching player can be a really good thing, but it can also be even more complicated if it doesn't turn out the way you want. So is it something you considered?
Of course. So I've worked with a lot of 10-man rosters from my time as a coach, and there are benefits and negatives to kind of staying with the same core roster and working on problems and switching players in and out. But I do think that they bring a lot of individual talents that we should be able to see today, and I hope that it goes well today.
Tell me a bit more about the bot lane. What is new and what is different about Jessica and Mystic?
Right now, I think they're playing very well in this meta, and I think they're very confident in their matchups, and I think it's something that they'll be able to showcase today.
We also know that Vitality is looking for their first win, as well as you. So is it something the team is worried about?
I think you're always thinking about how to win in LEC. So I don't know if we're particularly worried about it, but we are just trying to figure out the best way we can to win.
Well, I wish you good luck on that, and thank you very much for your insights. Now back to you, Trevor.
Thank you very much, Laure. We'll have to see whether or not this change helps Excel out. As Laure mentioned, they, along with Vitality, are still at 0-4. One of these teams will pick up a win. I want to ask how they're going to do it. So we've talked a lot about Excel. They're the ones that have made the roster changes. So Ender, kick me off. What are the win conditions for Excel to take down Vitality?
Ultimately, what Excel need to do is just exploit every single weakness that Vitality have. And right now, the two biggest ones are that, well, their early game is okay up till 15 minutes, but everything after that point on Vitality's side just falls apart. They get picked off, they take bad fights, all of that gets out the window. So what I say is pick a team fight comp, something that can specifically challenge Vitality post 15 minutes. I also think that Vitality's bottom lane has just died like multiple times in ridiculous situations in basically every single game. So if you're Cajal, I just want him to walk bottom lane a bunch of times, get those kills, and trust me, they're going to be there.
And of course, for Jeskla and Mystiques, if they can actually come in and punish Attila and Jack Troll, maybe that's one of the ways they can unlock it. I'm going to turn to VODS and say, let's ask the question from the other perspective. How does Vitality take down Excel?
Well, I think they need to attack the mid lane. I think that you can expect the bot lane to be fairly neutral. While David Lim seems to have confidence in his duo, playing more confidently and looking to aggress, I think that Jack Troll and Attila should still be relatively safe during the laning phase, and you should instead invest all your resources into trying to shut down Mickey and enable Jizuke.
Have we been watching the same games, though, VODS? Because Jizuke has not been performing, even with some help. I've seen Cabochard roaming mid lane, and he's doing nothing with those leads. Is that the right guy?
He definitely had 1 or 2 bad games so far in this split, and I do not think that he is in the conversation of being the 3rd best mid in Europe right now. However, I still have a lot of confidence in his abilities overall, and I think that what we're seeing more of is bigger team issues rather than just Jizuke issues. So I believe that if they funnel resources into him and they open him up to roam around the map, then I have a lot more confidence in him and Vitality to be able to pick up one.
On the hopes that those types of tower dive plays don't happen again. Look, outside of Cabochard, the rest of the players are still struggling, of course, on the Vitality side. So, VODS, what would it mean for Vitality to lose to this XL squad and go 0-5 today?
Well, I mean, we're already starting to reshape our perspectives of this Vitality squad. No longer can we consider them like a top team in Europe anymore, especially what we've seen in recent weeks. And I think that if they lose to XL, they stop getting those small rays of hopes that many people give them. Like even today, I'm just sitting there and a lot of my past experience of this team is giving them a slight edge over XL. So if they lose today, that hope is now gone and they move much further down in how I rate this team.
Yeah, for me, I feel like the hope is gone right now for Vitality, and the only way to get anything back is to win this game. That's what it means.
And of course, you voted for XL to win today. So pretty confident they're going to be able to pick up that win. Both of these teams are at 0-4. And one of them will be taking home their first win. The first weeks have been catastrophic for XL and Vitality, but a win tonight could be, maybe, what helped turns the ship around.
Thank you, Quickshot. I'm Draco's joined by Frosker, and if you're wondering why my fine friend here is enjoying some sweet popcorn, one, Germans love sweet popcorn, don't know why, salty, preferred, but also because we're kind of in for a show. Now, this could be the greatest, most dominant display of macro League of Legends we've ever seen, but it could also just be a show. Now, I'll be honest, I'm eager, like many people are, to pull out the clown noses and the party hats. They're both 0-4 though, so we'll give them a bit of benefit of the doubt. But the bottom line, folks, is that someone at the end of today has to walk away victorious, and that's what we're gonna find out.
Welcome to Threat Rivals. Someone